Hey witches, how you doing today? We're back with another video, and today I want to talk about someone who has been very influential in my personal practice and to the witchcraft movement as a whole. And I wanted to share a little bit about her, Isobel Gowdie, and I also wanted to share about a very special fundraiser that is happening right now to help fund a documentary about the life of Isobel Gowdie. So we're going to get into sort of who was she. I know not all of you might be familiar with her. Who was she? Why was she important? Why was she important to the witchcraft movement? And just all the goods on Isobel Gowdie and why I love and adore her. So for those of you who are new around here, my name is Taya. Welcome to the channel. We talk about all things witchcraft. And for those of you who are returning viewers, maybe coming in from another video, welcome back. And thank you so much for the support. It's truly appreciated. And all of you, please consider subscribing. It's a really great way to help us build the channel. All right, Isobel Gowdie. Who is she? Why was she important? Isobel Gowdie is a witch who was tried in the Scottish witch trials of 1662, or she was persecuted. And I'm going to share a little bit about her story. I'm going to read to you actually right out of my own original Book of Shadows. I have this lovely page that I set up dedicated to her. And let's read. Isobel Gowdie lived in Auldearn near Nairn in Scotland during the Great Scottish Witch Hunts of 1661 to 1662. Over a period of 6 weeks in 1662, she made 4 confessions to witchcraft. She was married to John Gilbert, and while her actual age is unknown, she's assumed to be of childbearing age, likely in her late 20s to early 30s. While torture to obtain confessions was outlawed in Scotland on April 10th, 1662, it's been debated whether Isobel's confessions were indeed made under torture. So the torture was outlawed April 10th. Her first confession was April 13th. So there is sort of a little bit of debate in the historical community, if you will, about whether or not she was under actual torture. Right, because it was 3 days after torture was outlawed. Now, had the decree made it to where she was being held? Had she been held prior to that and had been tortured prior to the 10th? We don't know. Some other theories are that she may have been suffering from mental illness. She might have been looking for celebrity of a sort and just telling stories, or possibly she had post-traumatic delusion. I think for the most of us, the common thought is that she was actually practicing witchcraft during this time. Because her confessions were so detailed, she had to have some sort of inside knowledge. So there is no record of a trial or outcome for Isobel Gowdie, but she was likely tried in mid-July, her confessions happening in April and May. So she was likely tried in mid-July and then strangled and her body burned, as this was the majority of outcomes in Scotland prior to 1678. So her confessions, these are super abbreviated, but on the 13th of April 1662, she confessed to meeting the devil and receiving his mark, working with a coven to spoil crops with the dead body of a child, meeting the Queen of Elfame, and transforming into a jackdaw. On the 3rd of May, 1662, she confessed the names of her coven members and each of their spirit helpers, her own spirit aide being the Red Reaver, who dressed all in black, and to receiving handmade elf arrows from the devil himself. On the 15th of May, she confessed her pact with the devil, the names of those killed by the elf arrows she had received, the details on how she transformed into animals and of her sexual relations with the devil, spicy. And on the 27th of May, she reviewed and confirmed her previous confessions, confirmed the names of all coven members and co-conspirators, including Janet Broadhead, and due to the testimonies of Isobel and Janet, there were an additional 41 arrests made. So it was quite the to-do at the time that she made these very detailed confessions, which we do have written records of. An excellent resource if you are looking for a very historical or a very academic look at Isobel Gowdie and her times is this book right here, The Visions of Isobel Gowdie, Magic, Witchcraft, and Dark Shamanism in 7th Century Scotland by Emma Wilby. It's a very academic read. It wasn't meant as a general publication book, but she does the first part of this, which I've mentioned before, but the first part of this book, she really goes into detail about what life was like in the 17th century, in the 1600s, for women like Isobel Gowdie, what her life really would have been like. And it gives you a very stark look into why someone might have practiced witchcraft at a time like that. She has all the confessions in here, and then she does detailed analysis. I'll be honest, I haven't read the whole thing through, but that first chapter alone made it well worth the price of admission. Now, if you are interested in Isobel Gowdie, but you're like, I don't want to get into the academics, I just really would like a rundown, this is the book you want. The Black Book of Isobel Gowdie and Other Scottish Charms and Spells by Ash William Mills. I talked about this actually in another recent video, and he actually has the confessions. He's got the first 2 confessions written in here, and they're written in plain English, so they're much easier to read than the original, like, old Scottish English. And one of the things that we get from Isobel Gowdie is a charm, if you will, and it's about her transforming into a hare, a cat, and a crow. I'll read you the part about her transforming into a hare. This is directly from her confessions. So she says, when we go into a hare shape, so basically she's talking about what we would now consider something like, she's talking about transforming herself into a hare. So now the way we would probably look at that in modern times is like sending out your fetch spirit, right? You create this sort of fetch vessel that you will then inhabit with a part of your spirit to go out and either explore the world or travel to the other world, etc. But she says, when we go into a hare shape, we say, I shall go into a hare with sorrow and sigh and mickle care, which means great care. And I shall go in the devil's name, I come home again. And she says, and instantly we start into a hare. And when we want to be out of that shape, we would say, hare, hare, God send thee care. I am in hare shape just now, but I'll be in woman shape right now. And then she goes on to share what to do to turn into a cat and into a crow and how to turn back again from them. And then she says that when they're in this state, when we're in the shape of a cat, a crow, a hare, or any other likeness, we go to any of our neighbors' houses, being witches, we will say, I conjure thee, go with me. And they instantly turn into what we are, either cats, hares, crows, etc., and go with us wherever we want. When we wanted to ride, we'd take windle straws or beanstalks and put them between our feet and say 3 times, horse and haddock, horse and go, horse and pelletus, ho, ho. And immediately we fly away wherever we want, and lest our husband should find us out of our beds, we put a besom or a 3-legged stool in beside them and say 3 times, I lay down this besom in the devil's name, let it not stir until I come home again. And immediately it seems like a woman beside our husbands. So what a treasure trove on, on spirit flight, on turning into a hare or whatever animal, on taking your neighbors with you, on flying out, and on tricking your husband into thinking you're still in bed with him. That's like 4 different charms just in a short passage of one of her confessions. So it's a rich, rich history that she's provided. There's a lot of work based on her confessions in this day. Definitely check out the Black Book of Isobel Gowdie, and I'm going to tell you how to get it in a second because there's a special way you want to get it. And yeah, it's a great book. So it's a little bit about Isobel Gowdie. Now I want to talk about a really special fundraiser that's happening. It's a Kickstarter called Horse and Haddock, Isobel Gowdie, the Woman, Witch, and Healer. And their mission is to travel to the Highlands of Scotland, to the home of Isobel Gowdie, and show the story of who she truly was. They'll visit the places she once trod and tell her story from a modern historical perspective. Whether you're a researcher, a magical practitioner, an advocate of feminism, or simply a lover of local histories, you will be helping give Isobel Gowdie the hand of mercy and grace that her prosecutors did not. So they're making a documentary about the life and contributions of Isobel Gowdie. And there's all different levels in the Kickstart that you can participate at, but I want to talk to you about my favorite because it will actually get you this book right here, okay? So it's £30, which works out to about $37 Canadian. And what you'll receive for that is early access to the documentary itself. They're going to produce a booklet to go with the documentary. Your name will appear in the booklet. You'll get a recording of the Honoring Isobel Gowdie event. So they put on a fundraiser event a week or two ago that had a bunch of different bands playing. Gemma Gary was associated with it. I believe it worked out to, I think it was $42 or $43 Canadian just to participate in the fundraiser, with all the proceeds going to this documentary. But for $37, you can now get a copy of that. So that's a great deal. You can get a signed copy of the book from Ash William Mills. You will get, oh, I meant to pull it, a first encounter print, which I actually have. I received it with my copy of the book way back when. And an Isobel Gowdie charm and a hair wall charm. So there's like lots of value, tons of value in what they put together for these different levels. But yeah, it's like $37. That's worth the price of the book alone. Never mind the fundraiser event with all the different bands and Gemma Gary and all kinds of cool stuff. So I wanted to point that out to you. I'm going to put a link below to the fundraiser. It is Ash William Mills who did this book, who did the Black Book of Isobel Gowdie. It is his fundraiser, him and a group of, I'm assuming, of his friends or his associates who are putting together this fundraiser for the to make a documentary about the life and times of Isobel Gowdie. And I, for one, am all for it. I'm very excited. I already have the book, so I'm probably going to just pledge money. Like, I'm not going to do one of the tiered. You can just pledge money. I might just do that because I missed the fundraiser event. I was not home that day and I wasn't really thinking, and I'm like, oh, whatever. And then afterwards I realized I should have just pledged there, but I would like to pledge to this, and I would ask you guys to consider it. Isobel Gowdie has been a huge influence on the modern witchcraft movement, especially in traditional witchcraft, where we use those actual, trial records to build our practice. She had a wealth of information that, that we pull from today and that we use to build our practices today. So she's definitely one of the mighty dead in my practice, one of the very honored ancestors of witchcraft practice. So I hope that you would consider donating too. Please check out the link to the fundraiser in the description below. And otherwise, I'd love to hear in the comments, what is your, do you know of Isobel Gowdie? Have you used any of her confessions in your practice? Share what you know. I'd love to have a chat about it. And otherwise, that's our video today. Thank you so much for hanging out, and we'll catch you in the next one. Mwah. Thanks, guys.